I've been watching a lot of iceberg videos on the internet recently. I like to keep track of them, and I even have done a few myself. I only really like them so much because, despite essentially just being a tier list, they have a dynamic and interesting form of presentation. However, something comes to my attention a lot in these videos. Something that seems really small in scale compared to other aspects of making an iceberg video, but it's a major pet peeve of mine because of how close to personal issues it is. This issue is specifically common in the Legend of Zelda icebergs, which are usually related to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, because Nintendo 64 games just have a weird aura about them. On these icebergs, there's regularly a point that simply states Sheik's gender, as Sheik is a major character in the story of Ocarina of Time, and it's kind of an ambiguous plot point. This part is where I usually find myself unsubscribing from that YouTuber because almost all of them have an uninformed understanding of the topic that I can't bother with supporting. So today I'm going to delve into Sheik's gender, also known as why I think Sheik is a boy. Come with me as we explore this topic that, for some reason, is heavily debated across the internet, even though it's really simple in my opinion. As a disclaimer, I don't make this video because I actually care whether or not a fictional character is properly gendered. Take it easy, it's just a 3D model. I'm making this video to help educate people on gender presentation as a concept by using Sheik as a tool. I'm not legitimately offended by these YouTubers saying things that are wrong about gender. I'm unsubbing from them because I don't want to help spread misinformation by contributing to their channels with my sub. Are we good? Okay. If I see any videos about me complaining that SJWs are trying to cancel Zelda games or whatever, I'll be unsurprised but mildly disgruntled. Let's begin. On to the point of the video. Now, I've noticed that a significant portion of my viewers are not exactly scholars on the topic of gender, so I'll get that explanation out of the way first. What is gender, anyway? Well, it's a construct of human perception, an illusion created by society. It doesn't really exist. You've probably heard it used your whole life as synonymous with sex. Well, and this is kind of a hot take, but I don't think sex really exists either. At least not in the binary way that we're taught. Sure, there's two classifications of genitalia that are often associated with certain sexual characteristics and two different kinds of chromosome pairs that are often associated with them as well. However, secondary sexual characteristics are often distributed throughout the body differently than we expect them to, and there are more than two chromosome pairs. These other chromosome pairs we call a mistake when identified, but that's only because they don't conform to what we consider normal. Before you say that they're too uncommon to be worth accommodating for, did you know that redheaded people are less common than intersex people? Intersex people are often forcibly operated on at birth to make them conform into a certain gender group. I'm getting incredibly off topic though. Just know that gender is a mode of identity that doesn't mean anything at all about one's character or appearance. How does this tie into Sheik though? What does any of this really have to do with anything Zelda related? Oftentimes, I see YouTubers who discuss Sheik's gender conclude that he's female because Zelda probably doesn't use magic to physically change her junk because, well, why would she? Link isn't going to be inspecting it. I mean, that'd be weird. While I do concede that she doesn't change any of her sexual characteristics, I mean, I even have evidence for this in a subtle design choice. You can see bandages around Sheik's chest, somewhat like a chest binder one would wear to suppress the breasts. I don't think that really matters in determining Sheik's gender at the end of the day. After all, gender doesn't have anything to do with your physiological makeup. What does matter is the fact that Sheik and Zelda are separate entities. You might wonder what I mean by this. After all, they both inhabit the same body, right? However, that doesn't mean that they're the same person. Plurality notwithstanding, which I'll get to in a bit, There are many situations where someone might inhabit the same body but play another person, and you wouldn't refer to that person as the same gender if they were a different gender than the original person. For example, if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, if your character is a different gender than you, you won't just say that they're the same gender as you because they're derived from you in some capacity. Nobody does that. Zelda is playing a character when she's in the form of Sheik, and that character happens to be a man. It's similar to my Samus video where I made the comparison between Ping and Mulan. Though that video was a joke, my point in that video I actually stand by. Ping and Mulan are different entities entirely, and thus they have different gender identities. In short, Zelda is female and her alter ego is Sheik, who is a man, much like somebody who might have a D&D character who is male, but the player might be female. Of course, another interesting lens to interpret this debacle under is that of plurality. Plurality, in a very simple explanation, is the idea of multiple consciousnesses inhabiting the same body. I know it's a lot more complicated than that, but it's not something I know a lot about, and I don't want to spread misinformation on the subject. Anyway, there are some who theorize that Sheik is a separate consciousness entirely from Zelda. While I personally don't believe that, that could be another reason why he's a different gender. That is, he's an entirely separate person residing distinctly within Zelda's brain, and Zelda is usually the one who fronts, or is residing at the front of the mind and controlling the body. I don't buy this theory, but I think it's an interesting perspective, and I only bring it up so somebody who's more informed on the subject might be inspired to make their own video on it, which I would be very interested in. So, to conclude things, I believe that Sheik is a man due to the gender expression he presents as, and due to him being a separate and distinct persona to Zelda, even if the two use the same body. Sheik is distinctly separate from Zelda as a character, much like a D&D character or a drag persona is separate from the person who plays them, or even an actor filling a role. There might be plurality involved, but that's honestly not something I know enough about to speak on. The next time you see an iceberg video about the Zelda series, make sure to think about these things if the topic of Sheik's gender is brought up, because I guarantee that the person presenting the iceberg will predominantly focus on Sheik's genitalia. And really, are things ever that simple? This has been Arcagent Everlasting, signing off. Thank you for watching.